If you think you know what the ultimate treasure of One Piece actually is, you might want to prepare to have your entire perspective completely shattered. Today, we're diving deep into a dark, epic mystery that connects an 800-year-old plan, a false god, and the literal reshaping of a world. Let's just jump right into the truth that's been hiding in plain sight from the very start. So, right off the bat, I have to ask you, what if the One Piece is not just treasure? For decades, we've all kind of assumed the ultimate goal at the end of the Grand Line is just this massive hoard of unimaginable wealth, right? But if we look at the lore revealed in recent chapters, we really have to rethink that whole idea.
Seriously, erase the image of overflowing treasure chests from your mind. The sources tell us that the ultimate prize Joy Boy left behind 800 years ago is absolutely not gold. It's not jewels. We are talking about something way past the concept of simple pirate plunder.
It's not even a weapon. It's definitely not some ancient destructive device meant to wipe out nations. No, it is something so incredibly unexpected, so profoundly different from what anyone sailing those seas could have ever anticipated.
Which brings us to, honestly, one of the most beautifully cinematic moments in the entire story, when the Pirate King himself, Gold D. Roger, finally reached the final island after a literal lifetime of suffering and battling. He didn't cry. He didn't claim dominion over the world. He just laughed. He laughed so hard he named the island itself Laugh Tale. He discovered a truth so ridiculous and yet so beautiful that it could literally only elicit pure joy.
Section 1. Why did Roger laugh? You have to wonder, why, right upon finding this incredible mythical treasure, did Roger immediately claim that he and his crew were simply born in the wrong era?
Well, it all comes down to this massive 800-year architecture of hidden history. During the Void Century, a figure known as Joy Boy set this grand, sprawling plan into motion. And when Roger finally arrived at Laugh Tale centuries later, he realized the world simply wasn't ready for it yet. The ancient weapon Poseidon hadn't even been born. He was quite literally too early. But now, in the current era, everything is finally aligning. The weapons are here, and Luffy has awakened Gear 5, bringing back the drums of liberation. That 800-year wait is officially over.
But of course, a hero's return means absolutely nothing without an ultimate evil to oppose them. That brings us to Section 2. Imu, the world's devil, the true ruler pulling the strings from the shadows. The lore here leans super heavily into biblical allegory. Analysis of the source material highlights how Imu possesses this terrifying, multi-eyed Zoan transformation. Framed as the absolute antithesis of liberation, Imu is basically a biblical devil masquerading as a false god. By enforcing the strict doctrine of absolute justice and hiding in the shadows of a massive, oppressive ethnostate, Imu represents total tyrannical control over the entire world.
So who exactly stands against a literal devil masquerading as a god? Section 3, the mantle of Joy Boy, inheriting the will.
Here is a massive revelation from the source analysis. Luffy is actually not just the literal, spiritual reincarnation of the original Joy Boy. Instead, Joy Boy is a title. It's a mantle, inherited by whoever holds the power and the sheer will to free the world from oppression. When Luffy's heartbeat matched those drums of liberation, it wasn't some ancient spirit possessing him. It was simply the world confirming that the title of Joy Boy had finally returned.
And this sets up the ultimate conflict. On one side, you have Luffy, embodying the sun god Nika. His power makes the world bouncy, goofy, and absolutely unconditionally free. And on the flip side, you have Imu, the devil, bringing this chaotic, heavy, oppressive beat that literally terrifies the environment around it. It is a direct, literal clash between absolute freedom and absolute control.
So knowing all of this, how does the next Joy Boy actually go about saving the world? Section 4. Tearing down the walls, creating a unified world.
I want you to pose this massive, game-changing question to yourself. What happens if the Red Line, that massive, indestructible, literal continent dividing the globe, is destroyed? Think about Sanji for a second. His seemingly impossible dream of finding the All-Blue, an ocean containing every single fish in the world, well, the destruction of the Red Line makes that a reality. Think about it. If the Red Line falls, all 4 oceans finally connect together. Families that have been separated for centuries can finally reunite. Fishmen are no longer forced to live trapped below the surface. The legendary All Blue is instantly formed. And most importantly, the world literally becomes one piece, which implies that the ancient weapons weren't actually created to destroy the world. They exist to free it. But what if I told you this incredibly epic fiction is actually rooted in real-world history? Let's move to Section 5, the true meaning of pirate.
We can actually ground all this crazy lore in reality by looking at a fascinating academic paper by researchers Hassan Ashari and Reno Andreas. They conducted a transmedia comparative study, and they directly compared the narrative of One Piece to the real maritime history of the Indonesian archipelago back during the 17th and 18th centuries.
And the researchers highlighted this really incredible historical truth. During the colonial era, the Dutch East India Company heavily monopolized the seas, and the free Makassar and Bugis seafarers who resisted that monopoly, they were systematically labeled as pirates by the Dutch. The term pirate was essentially a political pejorative. It was a stigma completely manufactured by a regime just to legitimize military intervention and crush anyone who dared to challenge their absolute economic control.
The structural parallel here is absolutely brilliant. In the fiction, Luffy and the Straw Hats fight the world government. They're labeled as criminals, but they are actually fighting political tyranny for absolute freedom. In reality, the Bugis and Makassar seafarers fought the Dutch. They were labeled pirates, but they were actually fighting economic tyranny to maintain their autonomy. In both cases, the pirate is forced to act outside the law as a sort of ethical expression against an entirely unjust system. They are, at their core, agents of liberation.
We've really seen just how deep this lore goes, from an 800-year-old master plan to the tyrannical control of a false god, to the very real historical parallels of actual seafarers fighting for their freedom. So I have to leave you with this. As this final saga unfolds, is the inherited will of Joy Boy secretly guiding history? Will the red line actually fall? And when the dust finally settles, will the seas unite so the world can become one piece? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.